Well, we're the Vales, Ted and Laura, and we've been here in Belize for 9 months now. We came here from Colorado in the U.S. and had spent the previous 11 and a half years there prior to coming here. Our motivation for moving to any place away from where we lived at the time was we're in our mid to late 50s and living in a place where the elevation is quite higher than what we grew up with and what we were used to, and also harsher winters, and we had just felt like ultimately we wanted to find a place that was lower elevation, maybe a little more moderate climate, and that sort of thing. And we were looking in terms of where we might retire, which would have been 11, 12 years away. And so we just started talking and dreaming about where we might go, what we might do. And about 2 years ago, or a little more than that probably, we started thinking about kind of expanding our horizons a little bit beyond just the southern tier of the U.S., for example, where the temperatures are more moderate and lower elevations and all that, to include Central America. And originally thought that we might target our research towards Costa Rica, but a guy I work with actually lived there, and I told him what we were thinking about doing, and he said, well, Costa Rica's nice. I mean, we love living there, but for somebody who's thinking about retiring there, I would really urge you to consider other places, just because their infrastructure is deteriorating and things like that. He said, go to Panama. That's what I would do. So we were kind of starting to look around there and consider that as a place to go. But make a long story short, we found out about this place where we live now. We did some investigation. We talked to the developer, and we made a trip down here in July of 2014 to check it out. Now, at the time, Laura's mother was living with us, and so we didn't have the freedom to, commit to anything because we were committed to letting her live out her natural life, living in our home as much as possible. So, we just went home thinking, kind of cool. We liked the place. We thought, the proximity to Spanish Lookout was definitely something in its favor because there were a lot of services available close by. The community itself, the people that we met that were living here, all those things were in its favor as far as we were concerned, but it just, the timing didn't seem like it was going to work out. But strangely enough, over the next 4 months, Laura's mother, who was 91 at the time, took a fall, seemed to bounce back from that, but then kind of went downhill, and she passed away at the end of October of 2014. And so all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, well, our excuse for not being able to go, was taken away with her death. So we spent some more time thinking and praying about it, and ultimately decided to take the plunge. And so we signed the contract. Our house was built over the next 4 or 5 months or so, and in July of last year we came down here to live full time. And so we've been here 9 months now, and we are still adapting, I would say. It's quite a change in lifestyle, and but we've enjoyed being here. We think it's a great place in terms of a the community itself, the people that we're surrounded by, the greater community, the Mennonite community, the Spanish Lookout, and so we've been very happy with our move here. Well, the Smiths have been very helpful to us. Our primary contact during the negotiations and the contract and the designing the house and having it built were with Darren. And then it just so happened that, for the previous 5 years or whatever of the development of this place, Darren was back and forth between here and Florida. Spend a couple of 3 weeks here, fly home, spend a couple of 3 weeks, and just back and forth like that all the time. And he had planned for his family to ultimately move here, and it just so happened, it coincided that his family's move down here was at the same time as ours in July last year. So right before we came down, we spent a few days in Florida, met Darren's wife Stacy, and got to know her a little bit. And so as both families were locating here, we were kind of doing it at the same time. So we were experiencing a lot of the same things at the same time. And then prior to coming down, we had contact with a number of the other residents here, talking about all kinds of different things, from gardening to solar energy to
what to
things,
bring,
things we should
what
bring,
not to bring,
things we shouldn't bring. Right. And so that was a really a huge help to us. I think if we had moved to some place where we didn't know anybody, maybe we're moving to a local community, but didn't necessarily have a core group of expats like ourselves to interact with in the planning phase and all that, it would have been really a lot more difficult, I think, for us. Moving here at the time we did, with the people who were living here and the people who were coming at the same time with Darren and his family, was a huge benefit for us to make the transition go a little more smoothly. And
the birds are very interesting. This is the only place that I've ever lived where cows have calves year-round, sheep have babies year-round, there are butterflies year-round, and there are fireflies year-round. It's like the Twilight Zone. And you see a random firefly in your bedroom at night, and you think, what in the world is that? And then the next night you see it, and then the third night it's gone. Or you see them outside, and you think you saw something out of the corner of your eye, but you weren't sure driving, in from the gate. And then you look over, and there are fireflies there. Nowhere else, just this little patch, and then by the time we get back to our place, there's nothing. And they go way up in the trees. They're like 7, 8, 9 feet up in the trees. And we lived in Iowa for a time, and they were all pretty much ground dwellers, They didn't go very high.
Interesting.
So,
yeah.
And the birds, there's parrots every morning that wake you up, and squawk. Green parrots, little ones, not macaws, but little ones that fly around and squawk to each other, and they're sold for pets in the U.S., and it's just weird to have them in the trees outside, and yeah. Haven't seen a toucan. Other people here have seen toucans on the property, but I haven't seen one yet. Be prepared for heat and humidity without air conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
Fans are your friend, and so is Western Dairies that has ice cream in Spanish Lookout.
And air conditioning.
And air conditioning.
Yeah. For me, I think in terms of the thing that was hardest about the move was the actual move itself. We brought quite a bit of stuff that most of which we really needed, but part of which we probably didn't need to bring with us. But because of that, we had 2 pickup trucks, 2 3/4 ton pickup trucks, and an 18-foot stock trailer. and they were all jam-packed with stuff. And we had to drive across from Colorado, across the southern U.S. to Miami, Florida, to put them on the ship to be shipped down here. And just that process itself, for me, was the hardest part. Just the logistics.
And he did amazing. I mean, he thought of stuff I never would have thought of. And, I mean, it was just an incredible... I've never seen... Been married to him for 28 years, and I've never seen execution of something like that. It was really impressive.
Well, thank you
Things
for
he
that.
thought of, and just the research and stuff for solar. I mean, we brought all of our solar stuff with us. And just that in itself is, you know, a whole new world.
Mm-hmm.
And continues to be. You know, it's a learning curve that,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think for me, once we dropped the trucks and the trailer off at the port, then it was like a huge relief. Oh, okay, we made it that far. Now it's in somebody else's hands, and we can just, we spent the next 2.5 weeks visiting her brother in South Carolina, waiting for the ocean transportation process to take place and for our stuff to arrive. And then when we flew in, Darren and his family met us at the airport with the 2 trucks and the trailer, and we drove out here, and that little trip was not without its fun moments,
Yeah.
but I won't go into those in detail.
Welcome to Belize.
But we made it here. All of our stuff was intact, and
The trailer had a problem. It didn't have anything to do with Belize.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
The
yeah.
trailer. It wasn't
we had a little
Any
breakdown with the trailer.
problems on the road or anything.
Getting it off the boat, or them getting it off the boat, or whatever. Anyway, so but yeah, so once we'd gotten past that point, it was really smooth sailing. And not to say that it hasn't been challenging making the transition, but it's a new normal, and we've adapted to it slowly, and continue adapting to
Yeah,
it.
and it continues to be the daily new normal because this is our first dry season.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hotter, but it is breezier. We moved in July and there was a lot of heat, but not much wind, not much breeze. So this is actually nice. Today's a little much, but for the when the breeze is blowing, I mean that's all you have. So evaporative cooling is a wonderful thing.
yeah.
So
So,
All right. Awesome. Thank you guys very much.
thank you. That was kind of fun to recount that.